Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to put brakes on my wife's 2014 Nissan Altima. So I'll go through, we'll do front brakes, rear brakes, and everything. So follow along. Alright, so first I'm going to do the front brakes. As you can see, I got the car up on jack stands and I got the wheels off. So we're going to start with taking the brake caliper off first, and then we'll get the rotor off, and I'll pull out the new stuff, show you how the difference between this old wore out stuff and the new stuff, and we'll get all the new things put on and go from there. Believe it or not, they come off a lot easier than I expected. And there's the pads. They're not wore out too bad. Got a little stuff on them, a couple of grooves and stuff. Not real bad. The same thing with the rotors. They got a few grooves in them. All right, well, I was off camera. I tied up the caliper, get it out of the way. Don't let them hang off their off the hoses. It'll damage the hose. So now we got proper breaker bar and socket. We'll get in here and loosen these bolts up to hold that holds this mount on. And we'll get it out of the way and we'll get this rotor off. All right, got that off. Now we kind of turn this back around here. And see what it takes to get this rotor loose. All right, now off camera, I had to spray some WD-40 on this, get it to break loose. Took a hammer, just finally got it broke loose. So now we got it off. It's not wore too bad. It's got a little bit of a ridge on the outside of it. It's got some grooves on the inside or on the surface, but not too bad overall. There again, just going to replace it just for safety's sake. All right, we're back. We got our new rotors, and you don't know if you can see this on camera or not, but they have cut marks going in both directions from where they've ground this flat. And they also ship these with some oil on them to keep them from rusting while they're being shipped or stocked on shelves and stuff. Excuse the airplane. So before you put these on, you want to clean them up really good. Clean all the grease off of them. And today I'm just using AutoZone brand brake cleaner. There are several different brands. They all work pretty good. So first and foremost, we got to clean all the surfaces off of it. Try to keep our greasy hands off anything we clean up, or reclean anything that we get our hands on that can make these brakes squeak, because if they get grease or oil in them, they'll squeal. Then they also don't stop as well. That oil will glaze over the disc and between the disc and the pads, and then you just don't have as good braking. So it's important to make sure they're really good and clean before you put the pads back in. And I always clean the pads as well. Just make sure that everything that touches in these areas are good and clean. So just get started on that. Some people wipe these off with rags. I don't normally wipe them off with a rag because you can get the lint off the rag on it. I don't even like having the lint trapped in there when I put them together. So brake cleaner does a good job of getting everything clean, and it doesn't leave any residue behind. Put on there, and then it evaporates off fairly quickly. So for me, it's just not worth it to take a chance on using a paper towel, because this surface right now is still rough. And you wipe over it with a paper towel, then all that lint will get stuck in it. And I don't know if it'll really hurt it or not. I just tend to or prefer not to do it. So now we got our new disc on in place. I sprayed it down. I'm looking at it. It's all clean. The last little bit of the brake cleaner is evaporating off. And I'll go back and I'll start reassembling. Okay, now also in this set of brakes, or with this set of pads I got, there are these sliders that fit on this bracket. The old ones can get wore, get grooved, and your brake pads can sometimes stick in that if you put a new set of brake pads in the old carriers. So I tend to try to get the pad sets that have the new sliders made in them or come with them, and so we're going to replace those. And it's pretty simple. You just kind of pry them off on either side, and they just come out. There's not a whole lot to them. You take the new ones, you turn them properly. And they just slide back in, usually. There we go. So that's a new one, that's the old one, and there it is. So I'm gonna put this back in place, slide my brake pads in, or I'm gonna clean them, slide them in, and then we'll get the caliper mounted. Now we'll have it all back together. And it works best if you turn these to where you can get to these with the bigger wrench and ratchets and sockets. And you can get your hands in there a little easier if you turn toward you. You can see it a little better. One thing I'm going to do before I put the brakes back on, because I'm sitting here doing all this, and of course I've cleaned the rotors once, but I've come closer, probably have moved my fingers across it a couple times. This has rubbed it, so I'm going to go back and clean those rotors again, just to make sure that they're as clean as they can be before I throw the pads on. Get them good and tight. Trust me, you don't want these coming off, so they need to be pretty tight. And I know there's a torque measurement for them, but I broke my torque wrench, so I can't torque them. So I'm getting them close. All right, now I got those tight. I'm gonna go back and clean my rotors again, just in case I got some dirt on them. Now I'm going to clean the rotors up. And you can see there's some dirt come off of them too. I'm going to need another can. Alright, put this one in the back. See, these come with stuff in them, on them. Again, it's best to get all the surfaces clean. Set this one in place. There we go. And touch that with my hand. Clean it off. Alright. At this point, we haven't done this yet, but we got to compress this piston in on the caliper. Alright, as you can see here, I've squeezed the piston in. It's almost flush, and it slides over the pads without any issues. And then all we do is put the last 2 bolts back in, and this side will be done, at least on the front. Now just tighten them down. And there you have it. Alright, we're back on, now we're on the back brake on the driver's side. Got to take the rotor or the caliper off just like we did on the front. Then the bracket that holds the caliper on. And then we can get the rotor off. So let's get started. First we got to take this off. Okay, got these out. And we got the caliper loose. Just gonna set it up here. Then we got to get this bracket, well, we take these pads out and then we get the bracket off. There's that pad. These pads weren't too bad either on the back. I suspect the front brakes have been replaced once, but these back ones, I'm pretty sure they haven't been. Let's get this loose. Alright, then we got the bracket off. I'm going to pull this brake pad out. And you can see it's similar to the other one, a little smaller. Everything's a little smaller in the back. It doesn't need to be as big as the front. And I put the WD-40 on this one before I got started, and it come right off. So while I got it off, again, this rotor's not wore out real bad. It's got a little bit of wear on it, but not bad. It's got some grooves in it. But luckily, it's not too bad at all. All right, we got our new rotor here. And just like on the front, we'll clean it up good, install it, and then start putting all the new stuff back in place. I'm going to try this one a little bit different. Clean off the back and then set it in place. And then I can clean the outside easier without having to worry about touching it with my hands anymore. All right. So got that done. We're gonna let that dry up. While we're doing that, we're gonna clean these up a little bit and replace the sliders back here just like we did on the front. All right, now we got our new clips in. We just start putting everything back in place, do it in reverse the way we took it apart. So we get our old bolts here. We slide that in place. Start our bolts. And we got to get it lined up, of course. So let's get these tightened up. And I can get a little bit in there, but in order to really tighten these up, tighten this one up, I gotta have a wrench. And there's there we go. That should be plenty tight. All right, so now we put our pads in. On the front pads, the pads were the same inside and out. On the back pads, your pad that goes to the inside back here has a wear indicator on it. So make sure that that wear indicator goes on the back side of your rotor, and the one without it goes on the outside. So we got to clean these up real good. And this one, like I said, is the outside one because it does not have the wear indicator. And they just slide in like so. And this one slides in from the back side. Relatively easy. Now all I got to do is the same thing as I did on the front. I got to squeeze this piston back into the caliper so I have enough room to get it over top of the new pad. All right, I didn't show this on the front, but on the back one, I'm going to try to show this to you. Okay, I just take an old pad like I said before, and I set it in the caliper like this, and I use a big pair of adjustable pliers, and I grab a hold of it, try to get it centered and get everything balanced out. And unless it's stuck or something, it ought to go back in pretty easy, just as this one did. Almost no pressure whatsoever. The other thing that I do to help with that, make it easier, is I pull the cap off of the master cylinder reservoir to let that fluid flow back up into it easier. So now that we've got that done, we just got to put these last two bolts in, and this backside will be done. And one other thing that these back ones have is this little hole that allows you to reach in with a screwdriver and adjust that parking brake. There's a cap that covers that hole. We have to remember to put that cap back in. You're still going to get dust inside and that, but this is just, it helps to cut that dust down a little bit. And that's in there. And I'm going to go back and spray this one more time. I got a little bit of junk around it. So now all that's left is put the wheel and tire back on it, and both front and back are done. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. If you think I've done something wrong, let me know. If you have any questions, just ask me some questions and I'll answer them the best I can. And until next time, thank you again for watching.